In about 3 minutes, we will go live on Facebook. We're going to answer some questions that we have on Facebook. But my name is Jeremy Majors, and we are a dog training company out in Green, Wisconsin that specifically deals with fearful and aggressive dogs. And so, if you're watching and you want to get some questions in about your dog, if you have any questions about it, feel free to type it, and we will answer them in the order they are received. Green Bay, Wisconsin. Okay, let's set up Facebook. Okay. Just wait 1 minute and we'll be ready to go for if you skip to well, there's no wonder. 1 minute, we'll go live on Facebook and then we'll start. All right, let's do this. What's up, everyone? Jeremy Majors here with Majors Academy Dog Training out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. And if you're watching for the first time, we're a dog training company that focuses on, or I don't even want to say specializes in, let's just say the majority of our dogs that we train are fearful and aggressive dogs. And so, if you have any behavior questions in regards to your dog and you don't have a solution to their issues, it could be barking, it could be digging, it could be obsessive licking. There's a wide range of behaviors that we will address. So, we've got a couple of questions that we have already posted. But you guys who are watching live do have priority. So, if you guys are watching live and you have a question, type it. We will answer yours first because we appreciate that you guys are watching live. All right. Okay, so let's get to some questions. And remember this too, guys. If you like and or share this video, you will be helping out. Also, you will be helping out if you ask a question, because there's probably somebody that's struggling with something similar. All right, first question: dog on dog aggression. With some dogs, but not others. I bought this loving little 1-year-old to be a service dog for my fiance with a brain injury. She seems to have little dog on dog. She seems to have a little dog on dog behaviors with some dogs. Have to fix it if she's going to be a service dog. Okay. Um. So when it comes to aggression, there's two reasons why your dog is acting aggressive. Okay. One is your dog thinks it can, as aligned with the thinking of the world revolves around me. and I am entitled and pointing towards a pretentious mindset. Doesn't matter what's going on. The other side is that the dog is scared shitless of other dogs. And then sometimes there's a little bit of both. So what you have to do is get your dog around dogs who are balanced, and they will be able to help balance your dog. Um, but you can also help the dog figure out what's right and what's wrong. Um, Obviously, aggressive behavior is not right. So put your dog in that situation. Have a dog drag a leash, and correct the dog for any bad behavior if the dogs aren't able to do so. The dog has got to be able to reach a point where she's comfortable enough, or is it a she? Yep, she's comfortable enough being vulnerable. But in order to do that, you have to be in control. Just went over this with one of my board and trains. Because most of the dogs start off shy to themselves, won't go up to my dogs, um, standoffish. So, what they need is time, but they also need to see that I'm in control of them and the other dogs. And then you start to see the dog's play drive come out. But so that's what has to happen ultimately. You have to be in control long enough where the dog is feels comfortable um, being itself as opposed to being in control. Because when a dog is becoming aggressive towards other dogs, they're trying to control the situation. They're trying to make themselves feel better or safer or more convenient, whatever's convenient to them. But if you take that away and are in control, then the dog has no need to control, therefore can start to, like I said before, show their vulnerable side and start to play. That's the beauty of socialization, is when you see a dog come in who's used to seeing other dogs and wanting to go control the situation by becoming aggressive, starting fights, just being insecure overall, from the just from a unfamiliar standpoint. And then you see the dog get comfortable and comfortable as they start to establish a good relationship with the dogs that you're introducing them to. And the cool thing is, after a while, they'll start to play. And once that moment happens, it's a really special moment. Every single time. It never gets old, no matter what. I've got a lot of videos on YouTube of dogs who were very, very controlling, to the point where they would really hurt dogs when they seen them. And I give you unedited, day by day sort of analysis of their progression. It's long. The videos are like 40 minutes long because we'll have 4 or 5 sessions within those videos, and but you get to see step by step how to introduce any dog, no matter how bad they are, because I have, some of the worst socialized dogs on video. So I can confidently say that if you follow the protocol that I put out in those videos, you will be able to successfully socialize any dog, um, and with enough time. All right. So if you got time, check out those videos. They are. I try to make them as packed with information as possible, and I'm always making new videos because I love doing this. So, all right, that's that. Let's see here. Let me make sure there's no Facebook questions. Hey guys, how are y'all? How are you doing on this Thursday? It's been pretty rainy here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Hope you guys have had better weather than us. Okay. All right. Next question. Been debating on contacting you regarding my almost 4 year old husky, Odin. I trained him myself since I got him at 4 months old, and he's great, except for recall issues with other dogs on and off leash at dog parks. He was attacked 2 years ago, unprovoked, by a German Shepherd male. His age and uh, and since then he hasn't been the same. He growled at a male and female dogs of all shapes and sizes, and even 3 puppies that were only a few months old, separate occasions. He has zero recall when loose, but is amazing on leash unless greeted by another dog. He hasn't bitten or started fights because I won't let it happen, but he does growl more often than not. Any tips and tricks will be appreciated. I'm not sure if I'd be able to fix these issues myself, and I'm wondering if a pro trainer would be beneficial for both of us. Thank you. Yes, a pro trainer would be beneficial, 100%. Um, I think as far as learning goes, you can always learn from any pro trainer. And the more you know, the more you're able to handle, and ultimately the better life you can provide for your dog. Okay, so we work with dogs every single day, of every single temperament, of every type of size, breed, temperament, and then it comes to temperament within the breed, because yes, the breed matters, but there's also an array of temperaments within the breed. And then there, because of the environment and who the mother was and how long they got to spend with their mother and who their siblings were and how many siblings there were and who he was size wise, and so all those factors matter, and all that is great information to sort of store as a trainer so that you can sort of give feedback um, to owners that you know buy dogs or even rescue dogs. I mean, you can pretty much predict a dog's, even if they're a rescue dog. If you've been around dogs long enough, you can predict their or have a good grip on their makeup as far as what makes them um, or what they look like, right? Based on their phenotype, um, you can pretty much get a good grip on what they will bring to the table as far as their temperament based on what they look like. And sometimes these DNA tests, they're like, oh, the dog's a Staffordshire Terrier, but it looks like a Border Collie, and I'm like, oh, whatever. Um, so I kind of go by what I see in front of me and what I experience from the dog. Okay, so to your question. All right, so off leash, the dog's a husky. They're going to be a little bit more challenging uh, to be reliable on leash, but nonetheless, what you need to learn, or what the dog needs to learn first, is how to be conditioned properly to the e-collar, because that's going to be your best friend off leash. And then you need to learn how to work the e-collar as well. Okay, and it can get tricky. E-collar training can get tricky. You don't want to just buy any e-collar. You want to buy a very good e-collar with a a wide array of levels, so that you can be sensitive to the sensitive dog. Okay, because we always want to be as gentle as possible with tools like that. Um, so that's what I would recommend. Sometimes those things take time. Again, the sensitive dog or the headstrong dog. When you're working with e-collars, um, and this is why we call it conditioning the dog, because sometimes some dogs take to new things very stressful in a very stressful way, and it's hard to convince them otherwise that they should listen to someone else other than themselves, if that makes sense. So, um, if it doesn't, I'll break it down. For example, something super similar, super simple. Doorbell rings, dog goes nuts. You try and reach him, can't reach him. Okay, so what's happening is the dog is going into its own head and trying to trying to make itself feel better in that circumstance. Doesn't feel safe with somebody knocking on the door because they know someone's coming in on in their territory, and so the dog is going nuts, and there's nothing you can do about it. Taking so I should say this: certain dogs deal with stress in a very there's levels to how dogs deal with stress. Some dogs are very hard to reach under stress. Some dogs take stress in a very calm way. Sort of like people. New situations or very intimate situations like their territory, it's hard to reach them. So that's why it's good to have a professional work your dog with the e-collar, because the e-collar is not just a disciplinarian tool, not at all. It's a communicative device. Okay, and you don't want to build a dog to where you put the e-collar on and the dog shuts down. That's not what it's about. The dog should be indifferent to you putting the e-collar on, or happy too, because they know they're getting ready to have some freedom. And so um, I would see a professional about that 100%. All right. Thanks for your question. Okay, got a couple questions live. Okay, so I know that was about my question. I caught the end, so I'll have to watch it again when you're done being live. Thanks for the help. I'm in GB also, and thinking about contacting you for training. Thanks, Sally. I appreciate you reaching out and asking questions. I appreciate that. All right, Julie. So my three dogs sleep with me. I know, bad. One of them is almost 5-month old pit bull. Had her since she was 8 weeks. I went to move her the other night, and she kind of growled. I was so surprised. She has been giving nothing but gentle. Is she becoming possessive over the bed? My other pit, who's 3 and sleeps with us, has never acted this way. Any tips besides not sleeping with us? Yes. So obviously, take the bed away for a while. Um, you got to be the one who is not questioned. Their authority is not questioned. You gotta have that sort of relationship to never have anything disastrous happening. Um, so the growling should be addressed with a consequence of some sort, um, along with no bed for 3 weeks minimum. Um, she's got to be humble to the fact that you're letting them into a very intimate space for you, and thankful for it. So, um, yep, keep him out of your bed for 3 weeks, and let her prove herself, and then maybe she can come back. But um, yeah, I would get on to my dog for growling at me. That's just bull crap. All right. Thank you for your question. All right. Thank you so much for your advice. We'll definitely look into saving training for Odin tools. Yes, yes, yes. E-collar is the best tool invented. I don't care what anyone says. Doesn't matter if the dog is aggressive or not. If the dog is not coming to you reliably, then your dog would definitely benefit from e-collar, good e-collar training, 100%. Okay, it's the good trainers. Well, I shouldn't say the good trainers. Trainers who know how to work with the e-collar. They it can be a very great tool for you. So definitely seek out some professional help. All right, got another question. Okay, best way to address food aggression with our 60-pound, 1-year-old hound mix. Fine with us, food aggressive with other dogs and cats. Okay, so when it comes to food aggression, there's two ways to go about it. On one hand, you can discipline your dog for being food aggressive, period. Like getting aggressive, period, doesn't matter, right? You can teach them that. That's fine. Um, the other one is the other way is, and this is my approach. So I would say 90%. This is my second approach, with 10% of the approach that I just said. I want my dogs to eat in a very comfortable, uh, non-threatening environment, which means I feed them alone. They are to be fed separate. Okay? And I know I could fix it if I wanted to, and I know dogs can do it. Not this, that, and the other. But I do think that I would like to have my dogs enjoy their food without the threat of another dog or animal disturbing uh, their eating. And this only comes from a personal um, place, because sometimes I get crabby when my wife reaches for a piece of food on my plate. So it's personal with me. I like I would like my dogs to eat and not have to worry about that. Again, you can fix it if you want. You can go ahead and give the dog a consequence, but it's a tough situation. Like dogs want their own food and they don't want to be bothered. So yeah, when I'm hungry, I'm hungry, and I don't even talk. I don't even give eye contact. I just eat because I'm focused. Maybe I need one of those bowls that make me slow down a little bit. So those are my thoughts about that. Um, but you can take any approach that you feel necessary. But me personally, I put them in their own area where they can eat slowly if they want, and without stress. Because, excuse me, because if the dog eats really fast, there is a chance that they could get bloat and die or get sick. So I try to avoid that at all costs. All right. Thank you for your question. Okay. I think we are all done with questions. I did have something that I wanted to talk about, that just something I gathered from my old board and trains, um, that just left. So let's talk about it. Okay, so when it comes to getting your dog to accept the world around you, this is what I'm gonna have to start doing or stop doing. I'm gonna have to eventually stop giving people a way out of dealing with their dog um, every day. So, as you know, I train aggressive dogs, right? Send them back home. And then when those people go out of town, they usually use me. And I gladly accept for the most part, especially if we have a really aggressive dog. Uh-oh. Got a question coming in. We'll come back to that. Okay. All right. Lindsay said I'd growl too if someone tried to take my food. You damn right. Okay. Alex says 3-year-old beagle that growls at anyone approaching her while she's on her bed at nighttime. What can I do to help so she doesn't do this? You got to give her a different option. I would continue to, if it's wrong, then you would have to show her that it's wrong. You'd have to get on to her, tell her no. Um, when somebody does that, and you work on that with just you. Um, for example, well, this is sort of a two-sided thing too. When dogs are laying down, um, there's an old school way of thinking. When a dog lays down, leave the dog alone. Leave it alone. Let it relax. Um, on the other hand, I don't want my dog growling at anybody under any circumstance. You should be able to, sort of take those sort of what they would perceive as pressure uh, or whatnot. I would I would get on to I would discipline my dog for growling at someone if they approached. But I would also respect the fact that maybe my dog just doesn't want to be pet. Maybe I'd give them some space. Maybe they're just crabby, and I just let them relax. So, again, just like with the food aggression, there's two sides to it. I'll let you figure out how you want to approach it. I don't like growling at any time. I don't like aggressiveness at any time. I can be understanding of it, though. And not all dogs like everyone just coming into their own space. So it's up to you what kind of dog you would have. All right. Thank you for your question. Okay, so going back to it, I'm gonna have to stop giving dog owners a way out. I am their way out. I do feel that I'm their way out. I'm their way of not dealing with the real issue, and the real issue is how they interact with their dog every single day, every single moment. Because I always tell people, and this is my philosophy, that if you treat your dog, if you are tough in the form of being consistent with your dog every day, as opposed to letting it go, then your dog will be open to being social on the outside world. But so you got to make a choice. You can enjoy your dog, but you will be the only one that'll enjoy your dog if you don't address the issues at home. I don't care about the whole 90% of everyone calls me. 90% of the time the dog acts great. No, it doesn't. 90% of the time it just doesn't bite. The other 10% it's biting and all that. But the 90%, the dog's barking in the 90%. The dog is probably rushing out of doors in that 90%. The dog is on the couch, on the bed, at its own, you know, so we got to figure out what's good or not. Oh, he's good, except for the biting. Except for the biting? But he also is on the counters, eating your food, or barking at the squirrels outside, or barking at the dogs outside. That's not good either. And I don't think people take that into account when they tell me how good or bad their dog is. 90% of the time he's not biting. Right. But that doesn't mean he's not good. The only thing that gets you to say that he's not biting, that he's not good, is that he bites. Well, that's way too late. But I bet you he jumps. And I bet you he barks. And I bet you he gets what he wants. And I bet you he's pushy. So address those things every single day. You have the opportunity to get your dog to be more social. It's not the dog's fault. It's what you do every day. You have to figure out how much you can give your dog and how much you have to actually not give your dog to keep the dog humble, so your dog can be open to getting pet by strangers and being vulnerable with other dogs. But if the dog thinks that 90% that the world revolves around them, then you will be the only person that will enjoy your dog. And I question even if you enjoy your dog. You can't go anywhere. Can't go on vacation. Can't take the dog on a walk. Definitely can't take the dog off leash. What kind of life is that? So the hard work starts with how you're training the dog every single day, because every interaction is training. Every single day, you have the opportunity to get respect, but you want to play to into the friendship thing, and so the friendship, there's no there's no real good relationship without respect. There can be relationships with friendship, but friends sometimes take advantage of each other. So respect has to be there in order to stop that. So respect is the key to getting your dog to be accepting of the things that it wasn't accepting of or afraid of, or not wanting to deal with. If your dog is barking at the mailman, then you should get your dog to. If your dog is barking uncontrollably, any behavior your dog displays that's uncontrollable or obsessive, you should do right by your dog. You will be doing right by your dog by getting them to stop and getting them to relax and have a stress-free life, especially if there's no reason to be stressed. Because barking is stress, jumping, when someone comes in, it looks happy. Dog may be happy, but the dog may be manipulating the situation. You have to be able to figure out what's pushy and what's not. What's fair and what's not. Okay? Look for other opportunities. Look for all those opportunities to let your dog know that you are there and you are building trust with your dog when you do that. Had a dog who was just a big old brat. Big old brat. Would not go into the crate. Would not go on the treadmill. Would not even go on the walk. And so, all those little opportunities you have to gain trust with your dog, so that when you go somewhere like the vet, if your dog hates the vet, because you've sort of guided them through all those little things, then the vet starts to become a lot easier to deal with, because the dog looks to you for guidance, because you have guided them through what they thought was bad. So if your dog is afraid of something and they have no reason to be afraid of it, or or they've stayed with you long enough to where you can take them through it, then take them through it, because your own relationship will only benefit from that. Okay. All right, guys, let me get your questions. If anybody else has some questions, you guys can type them in, because that's enough about that. I will talk a little bit about that quote. When I'm working these dogs and these dogs are staying with me, I'm always thinking, and it always is, generating sort of certain thoughts. So one of them was, rely on their intelligence to listen rather than their persistence not to. Okay, so perfect example of knowing how relying on their intelligence versus, again, giving in to their stubbornness not to want to listen to you. Okay, so when I took this one dog out of the crate, and I've got it on video, but when I took this one dog out of the crate and I put her in a sit right away, and there was no reason for her to be scared or intimidated or anything like that, totally coming from a sassy standpoint. But when I would um, take the collar out and just sort of put it out and try and put it around her neck, she would duck her head to the floor every single time. All right. So I said, I'm not going to force this on you. I'm not going to put it around your nose. I'm not going to lift your head up. I'm not going to make you put this on. I'm going to I'm going to allow you to put your put your head in the collar because I know you can. I know you can do it. I know you're intelligent enough to. So here's the collar right here, right? So we got this thing here. Her head's over there. I'm just waiting right here. I say, put the collar on. Put the collar on. She goes like this. Any little move. Mm-mm. No, I know you're playing games here. I know it. And it took a good 5 minutes for the dog to actually go like this. Dog goes, and then puts her head right here. And I said, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, again, that's very crucial. Those moments are very crucial, and many people will give in to the dog's persistence not to listen to you in that regard. But I knew that dog was too smart for that. I'm like, no. If you're smart enough to know that anytime I go towards you, you put your head down, then you're smart enough to not do it too. So let's stay consistent with what I want. Rely on her intelligence to know what I want because she kept refusing it, and then she eventually put her head right into it. It's a beauty. It was beautiful, beautiful moment. I'll post that video up, and so you guys can see it. It's it's really what I call a good example of behavior modification and the time it takes. It'll give you a good insight on what I go through and what I really like to strive for when it comes to um, dog training and behavior modification. We really want to. I think many of us really underestimate the intelligence of our dogs. You know, for, for example, if you say good boy every single time the dog sits, if the dog knows what sit means and you say good boy every time the dog sits, it's not necessary because you are really underestimating the intelligence of your dog. All right, question. All right, Christina says I have a German Shepherd dog that is anxious in the car. He was constantly barking while the vehicle is moving or someone at a stop sign looks in his direction. We have been working hard on his commands in the house, on walks in the backyard. Tried to wait for him to calm down before letting him in, but he seemed to get more anxious. He's improving with the command training, but is still anxious. Should I continue to do what I do, or is there a different approach I should use? By the way, I am single and can't sit in the back seat with him all the time. So what I would do is put him in a down in the car, and so if you know, obviously, keep the leash on um, in the car. You may need a better tool to be able to reach him in the car. If you're working with a prong collar, that may work, or you may need an e-collar. But you have to get the dog to go down, and you can work on this in the house if you're not already. But the dog should go down every time you tell it to in the house. It's going to be easier in the house to learn it because it's not as stressful or it doesn't provoke the anxiousness that the car brings. And so, one of the things that I do in the car when I have, I would say a good 95% of the dogs that I train are anxious in the car. So, uh, what I do is I make them lay down in the car. Okay, they cannot obsessively look. Um, so you can keep the leash on and put them in a down. If you don't know how to get that non-negotiable down, go to my YouTube channel and I'll show you. It's in the do-it-yourself videos or playlist. You just keep the dog in a non-negotiable down. Make sure you're not driving while it's happening though. Wait till you stop at a stoplight or a stop sign, then put them in a down. Be safe. Don't try and do it while you're driving. But give the dog something to do, basically. Something has to occupy its mind other than its anxiousness. You will free that dog from its anxiousness if you can give the obsessively anxious in the car, and he will be able to relax if you stick to it. If you're consistent with giving him something to do, giving him something else to think about, and then all will be well. All right. Thank you for your question. Feel free to ask another one too. If any of you guys want to ask another question, feel free to. All right. All right. If anyone else doesn't have any questions, we're going to hop off here. It's been a good little discussion. I think we went about 40 minutes. I think that's pretty good. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I may or may not see you next Thursday because I may have a newborn. I hope he comes before next Thursday, and so does my wife. So, wish us luck. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. I'll let you guys know if we are going to have a dog training Q&A. And thank you guys for watching. I appreciate your time. We'll be here maybe next Thursday. See you later.